Trina did what?
I know. Surprised me as well. A girl like her, I thought she was perfectly content here and didn't think that she would feel the need to leave. But you see, Andrea, this puts me in a very, very compromising position. You know that we have a very low tolerance of attempted escapes, of slaves attempting to escape around here.
Of course.
Normally, the punishment of such a thing would be execution, of course. I mean, we can't have we can't have the other your colleagues, he doesn't say slaves. You can't have your other colleagues think that they can get away with such a things. What would they say? They would like my reputation would be on the line. They would not respect me if we didn't make an example out of Trina. Which is why I wanted to ask you, if you were in my position, what would you do?
Well,
She
I
clearly needs to be punished. We can't have her just attempt to escape and just give her a slap on the wrist and call it a day. Something needs to happen.
well, what am I supposed to do with that? I mean,
Well, I know that you two are close. I know that you're friends, and if you are asked to ask me, I don't want to execute the girl. Let me put this way. I don't want her dead.
it's good. So I'd prefer to. Could I talk to her? Because it seems very out of her character to try and escape.
Yes, it does. That's what really puzzles me. Which is why you could talk to her, but I have something else that I think would fix the problem and allow, again, the other slaves, associates, he actually gets to slip colleagues, your other colleagues to, again, not believe that this whole system can be taken advantage of. She needs to be punished in some way. So this is what I propose. We will pretend to punish Trina by putting her in the arena. Now let me finish. Of course, you know that if we were put her in the arena, that could spell sudden death. Unless I put you in there with her so that you could make sure that nothing horrible happens to her. If I were to put anyone else in the arena to fight her, well, there's no telling what would happen. But if I pitted her there against you, you could pretend to kill her, but not actually kill her. Knock her out if you have to. At any rate, keep her alive. Enough to scare her, and enough to make everybody else know that she is being rightfully punished. And in the process, she will learn her lesson and not want to escape. My only concern is if you talk to her beforehand or tell her of this plan, she's a terrible liar. And I don't think that her acting skills would be very good. It wouldn't be convincing in the arena. Nobody would believe it. And I would have to be forced to execute her at that point if it was found out that this whole thing was a ruse. My hands would be tied. I would have to kill her then. This, I think, is the only way that we can keep her alive.
Ugh. Well, the only way. Uh, well, I'd prefer not to beat poor Trina within an inch of her life, if I could avoid it.
I don't know what other alternative we have, though.
Um,
The people, word has already gotten out that she has escaped amongst my men. We have to punish her somehow, and normally they would expect an execution. But I can twist things around and say instead of a public execution, we'll do the arena instead and have her decide her true fate. If you are able to knock her out, then she can remain hidden here as a servant and no one else would be the wiser that she was never killed in the first place. And even if she does, I'm sure I can come up with something. But hopefully it won't come to that.
Well, you make things hard on me, Bostwick.
I did not mean to put you into this position. I just knew that you and her were good friends, and I thought I owed it to you. I am doing this as a favor to you, Andrea, by telling you about the situation before I actually did anything. I hope you understand this.
I do. I understand quite well. Yes, I will do this. She's going to hate me for this, you know.
Well, just thank the Maker that we are giving her the opportunity to hate you when this is all done. For the alternative is much worse, let me tell you.
Very good. Then make it so.
Very well. The next day, the arena is filled with people because there's going to be a special event. And Bostwick himself is going to be emerging to address the crowd and says, "Good afternoon, Tevinter. Good afternoon, Minrathos." And there's a giant cheer. You all have arrived here to watch the great games as you all bet on your favorite winner, bet on your favorite fighter. To begin, we are going to start, well, with a little bit of business, however. We have a very special event that is going to be executed here today as a way to give some mercy, give a chance to someone who would otherwise have been executed for crimes that were committed. Don't worry, it's nothing that was committed against anyone here, just committed against me personally. But I am trying to be as fair and forgiving and give this combatant a fair chance to be able to prove herself, I guess. And with that, he will open up the gates, and in walks a very mousy-looking elf, and she's dressed in armor that looks very heavy for her, and she's got this short sword that she can hardly lift. She's like, it's like dragging across the ground.
Oh,
And she looks absolutely terrified. Absolutely terrified. And he says, "This is a fight to the death. A fight to the death between the challenger and your champion, Andrea." And the gates open, and in walks Andrea, and of course she's like all decked out in her exuberant outfit. It's got a very big Hunger Games kind of feel to it. And when she sees you, Trina's jaw drops as if she's in shock, and she's mouthing, "No, it can't be, no."
Andrea is going to strut towards her and kind of wave to the crowd, kind of act her part. And she's going to approach poor Trina. Gosh, poor Trina. And
"So it's you or me, Andrea? I don't know. Just strike me down now. I can't fight you. I can't fight you. You're much larger than a hamster."
I am much larger than a hamster, but pick up your sword. You have to make it look good.
She picks it up and she's like shaking it. "Like this," she says, and it's very, very heavy.
I can't strike down someone who looks so weak. Come, be tough, be tough.
Roll a persuasion.
All right.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
+2.
That
It's
seems
just
to have
12.
and that looks like a stunt.
Yes.
It looks like a stunt to me. So I guess with that, you will give her like an extra encouragement, and she will straighten herself up, and she will hold the sword more stably, and says, "All right. If this is what it comes down to, I will make you proud, Andrea.
Oh.
Don't hold back," she says, "because I won't make it easy. I won't make it easy on you," she says. She says, she's like swings towards your direction. She's making all these squeaks like a mouse. She's swinging it towards you. Now, when before you came out, Boswick says that you don't have to make her suffer for it. Just make it quick. Just shock her, knock her out, and it'll be over, and it's done. You don't have to elongate it normally that it needs to painfully be.
Okay.
Is what he said. And again, he says it's very important that you don't tell her what's happening, because then the ruse will be blown and he'll be forced to execute her at that point.
Okay, I'm gonna punch her in the face.
Oh! You punch her in the face, and there's this big mark, and her nose starts to bleed. She gets very determined. "Lucky hit," she says.
You're right. It was a lucky shot.
She swings. Oh! 17 with a stunt! She swings again at you, and she actually strikes you onto your hip. And it hurts badly as blood starts to pour out. The crowd starts to go wild, and she says, I did it!
You did. Good job.
Oh, that's a lot of blood. It's a lot of blood, she says, and she looks very queasy and really, really like she's about to throw up.
It's nothing, Trina. It's nothing. Keep fighting.
She swings again, trying to hit you, and doesn't quite hit you.
Okay. Oh gosh. I'm gonna hit her again.
Okay. With a punch to the face or a punch somewhere else?
Maybe in the side of the head, just a nice roundhouse. I'm trying to knock her out.
No. She's trying to knock her out. And people are the crowd is going wild, and they're saying, "Bolt of judgment! Bolt of judgment! Bolt of judgment! Bolt of judgment!" Which is what you normally use as your killing blow, but you believe if you want to appease the crowd that you should be able to do it in such a way that it stuns her and doesn't actually kill her.
Okay.
It just shocks her.
So I'm just gonna yell, "You want the bolt!" just to the crowd.
Yeah! Yeah!
Watch this, and I'm gonna do it to her. I'm gonna try really hard not to kill my friend.
Go ahead. Roll a magic roll. Roll a magic roll.
Okay.
And don't roll poorly. Is all I'm gonna say.
Oh god. Okay. Sorry.
Just a straight up magic roll. 18. Okay. You strike at her, and so the good news is the strike does not kill her. She swings her sword, but the sword again is so heavy that when she swings the sword trying to attack you before you hit her with the blast, that her back is completely towards you, and when the bolt comes out, it strikes her squarely on the back, and then she screams out, and she starts to shake and spaz out, and then she collapses down and starts to shake a little bit, but she's out. And at that point, Boswick says, "And it's over!" He says, "It's over, everyone."
For you, master. And I'm going to do a very, very dramatic bow.
You give a very dramatic bow.
Yes.
And the people will take the body away and says, "All right, everyone, and now we will return back to the rest of the program. Thank you very much for watching, and let's hear it once again for Andrea." And everyone starts like, "Yeah, Andrea."
I'm just going to cast lightning into the air. straight up.
When you make it out in the back, you do see that true to Bostwick's word, true to his word, she is now being rushed to the infirmary or wherever in order for her to get patched up and revived.
Good.
And Bostwick will say, well, she says, thank you, Andrea. I know that was very difficult, but like I said, it was her best chance of survival. I hope you understand that.
Thank you for letting me give her that out.
I think I just have to say I was very impressed by her out there. She has
Something. She
I
has
was
fight.
going to say potential. She has potential. Maybe one of these days she can come back disguised, of course, as a new warrior in the arena. Maybe. I think for right now we'll just let the poor thing rest, though.
Your kindness knows no bounds, Master.
He smiles. A week passes, and you probably go and visit Trina. She's being treated, but she's sort of like in some sort of a... She's been out. She's like in a coma, but she's been out. But she's still... They said it'll be fine. They just need to... She just needs to get her out of it.
I put my friend in a coma. Oh, God.
You are finally... After a week, they will tell you that she's woken up, and that if you would like to visit her, you can, but they warn you that you can decide whether or not you want to see her immediately after she was woken up, or give her some time. It's up to you if you want to see her immediately or give her a little bit of space or some time.
No, I want to go immediately. I do, yeah.
You go immediately
I'm
into...
scared.
You go immediately into the chamber, and the chamber that she's in is darkened, and she's sitting over in a chair. And when you enter into the room, she raises her head up towards you, and she says, "You did this to me."
Yeah, I did. Just, you fought really bravely, Trina.
You did this to me, she says. And she emerges from the shadows, and she wheels herself in a wheelchair.
Oh, God.
How could you? Why did you do this? She asks, tears streaming down her face. I trusted you, Andrea. I trusted you. How could you hurt me like this?
I resorted to.
Why?
Why?
Is it because of what I did?
Yeah.
It wasn't supposed to concern you. She says, when I tried to escape, it was supposed to have nothing to do with you. I just couldn't stand this place anymore. Why didn't you just kill me?
Because I thought you might want to go on living. This is the only way I could make that happen.
Don't you get it? She says, I am an elven slave. My life was terrible enough as it is. And then you put me in this chair! She says, streaming in there. I don't want to see you ever again. Okay? Ever again. Do you hear me?
I hear you. Sorry. I'm just gonna back out. I'm really sorry. Okay. Goodbye, Trina. Just shut the door really awkwardly.
Cedric, you're next.
Oh no.
No thanks.
Said things are about to get real. Well, that's just the beginning.
Put Trina in a wheelchair.
Yeah, Dad.
It's all your fault. You agreed to the terms.
I did.
Fortunately, your roll was good enough that it didn't kill her, because that could have happened. It could have happened if you rolled really badly. So at least count your blessings if you consider that to be a blessing. So back to Cedric, back to Kevin. You are back in the circle, and of course you are with your chum Thomas Falter. It's relatively late at night. It's about time for the mages to start turning in, like lights out. And you guys are walking up the staircase, and down the hallway, you see once again Lauren Almond walking with her nose in a book. And Thomas, kind of runs up to Lauren and says, "Hey, Lauren, what you reading there?" he says, and he grabs the book from her hand. And Lauren looks extremely annoyed, and he says, "Give that back, Thomas." He starts flipping through the pages, and he goes, "What is it with you mages in these books with no pictures?" He's looking through these books. He says, he's starting reading through these things. Ugh, what is that supposed to be? And Lauren is trying to grab the book again. "Thomas, give me back the book now." "Oh, come on," he says. "You can say it nicer than that." And at that point, Lauren's kind of just sulking and looking very, very angry. It's like staring daggers at him. And she says, "Give me the book, please. Please, Sir Falter," Lauren says with gritted teeth. And before she finishes the name Falter, Thomas throws the book towards you, and you probably catch it if you want to catch it.
Yeah.
He says, "Looks like you're gonna have to ask it from him," he says as he folds his arms and he looks towards your direction with a grin in his face.
Cedric will have a very serious look on his face and close the book and just kind of gently tosses it to the mage and say, "I'm no Templar yet. You don't have to say anything to me."
He says what he means is that he's just giving you a warning, because that's just the kind of person that he is. Warning. He says, "I am sick and tired of both of you following me around." And it says, we're not following you around. You're the one who keeps running into our path all the time." And she's just starting to get very, very irritated. And she says, "You think you're going to become a Templar?" She says, "Everybody around here, you think everyone around here loves you? Well, I've got news for you, Thomas Falter. I can see right through you. You're not gonna become a Templar. You're not gonna become anything. And do you know why?" And he kind of grabs a hold of her wrist. "I'd like to know why." And at that point, she pulls her wrist away. She says, "Don't touch me," and smacks him across the face. As soon as he smacks him across the face, Thomas Falter then grabs both of her arms, shoves her up against the wall. She's like, "Let go of me, dude." He says, "Don't touch me. I can touch you wherever I please." She spits into his face at that point. And then he says, "Oh, little girl." He says, "I can touch you wherever, whenever I want, and you are going to respect me and my friend."
Cedric's gonna interject at this point, just trying to like, get in between them. He's gonna try and get in between them and just be like, "All right, we need to calm down."
He
Both
looks
of
at
you.
you. Come on, man. What are you doing? Back me up here. He
Isn't it
says.
almost time for the mages to go to sleep?
Lauren says, I am going to report you to the night captain. And she starts to run. And Thomas says, no, you're not. And he holds up his hand. And this big surge of energy comes out from his hand and shoots forth towards Lauren, which ends up stunning her. You recognize this as a Templar ability, but only Templars who've taken lyrium can have that ability, which initiate's not supposed to be taking lyrium yet.
Oh.
So Thomas Falter does some sort of stunning spell, which takes her by surprise. It stuns her just as she's starting to go down the staircase that you guys had just come up of. She gets frozen, and poor Lauren falls down several flights of stairs until finally you hear a crack, crunch at the bottom. Thomas Falter freezes.
Cedric has his mouth like wide open, like just trying to process what he just saw happen.
You hear footsteps, and one of the the higher up Templars comes in, and the Templar says, "What's going on here?" Without skipping a beat, Thomas Falter turns around and he says, "Sir, I got here just in time. He did it!" He says, "He killed her. He was trying to rape her right here on the steps, and he did it. I tried to stop him, sir, but it was too late." The captain turns towards you and says, "Who?" "Lauren Alman, sir. You can check down the stairs." Here, he says, "Let me make sure that she's okay." And he makes his way down the stairs. The guard turns towards you and says, "Is this true?"
No, sir. No, none of it's true.
Why do you think that Thomas Falter would lie about such a thing?
I'm sure he's just in a panic after something that he just did, and he's trying to pass the blame on to someone else.
What he just did? Thomas Falter is one of the best recruits here. He's got a stellar record. I find it very hard to believe that he'd be doing something that he shouldn't be.
Out of character, would I know that you needed to take lyrium to...
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Cedric will kind of look down the stairs and then look back up at the commander and say, "Well, sir, he performed a Templar move that, our technique that requires lyrium. It froze the mage and she collapsed down the stairs.
New recruits are not allowed to be taking lyrium yet.
I am fully aware of that.
These are some very serious accusations, recruit.
Yes, sir. But I would never lie to you. Especially about a serious matter as this."
We'll see who's telling the truth then. Come with me. We'll get him as well. We'll bring him in as well.
I'll follow him as much.
You start to follow him. As you're following the captain towards the office, you start to feel very dizzy. The room is starting to spin a little bit, and you're starting to black out. Something's not quite right. And before you have a chance to say or do anything or call out, everything goes black.
Okay.
You wake up, and you're not in bed. You feel very uncomfortable, like you've been sleeping on the ground this entire time. It's very dark, and it's very musty. You see a few... Yeah, it's pitch black. It's pitch black. And what do you do at this point? You're lying on your back, and it's pitch black.
I'll kind of try to gather my surroundings. It's pitch black, so I'm going to feel around with my hands to kind of feel like what kind of ground I'm laying on.
You feel you hold out your hands and you realize your both of your hands hit something, and you realize that you're in some sort of a crate or a box. You don't have very much room. You're lying on your back inside some sort of crate or a box.
Um, I'm gonna try and push up to see if I can
You
just kind of
try to
gauge how
push
big
up
it
on the
is.
box,
Yeah.
and it's sealed. It's sealed shut. You can't open it, even with your strength.
Then I'll start. I will try and cry out. I'll just yell out, "Hello? Is anyone out there?"
You yell out hello, and there's no response. You're not sure if your voice is coming through the muffledness of the crate.
um. Okay. Well, I'll continue to yell and try to force, to try to get the box to move or do something.
You try to continue yelling, and I guess you're trying to knock on the box, trying to knock on the wood around you, and then after a few moments, you hear very faintly a voice from the outside, but you can't make out what the voice is saying.
Um. I heard the voice though, right?
You heard a voice of some sort, but you can't hear what it's saying. It's too muffled through the box.
I'll start. Instead of saying hello, I'll just say, "Please come help. I don't know where I am. I don't know what's going on."
After a few moments, you hear a loud noise as if something just hit the box, like hit the side of the box. You hear another noise as if another hit the box, and there's some sort of hook-looking thing, like narrowly misses your face, like semi scratches the top of your nose. It looks like it's some sort of like crowbar thing to try to open the box, and you open the box, flies open. The first thing that you notice is that your eyes start to adjust to the light. You have no idea how long you've been inside the box. And a familiar face is looking at you with a very curious look on his face. The person who's looking down on you, who opened the box, is this person. That person opens the box. And he looks very puzzled, as if wondering why in the world you're in there. He says, "What are you doing in that box?"
I don't know. I was with a Templar at one moment, and then I blacked out, and I woke up in this box.
"Are you a stowaway?" he asks.
Cedric will look at him puzzledly. A stowaway? What do you mean? I should be in the circle.
"And why are you naked?" he asks. "You are stark naked in this box."
Cedric will just kind of look down and just be like, "What is happening? Where am I?"
Are there any pictures?
Well, we went through all of our emails right now.
I'm sure many of the viewers, if any of the viewers are watching, wants to draw a picture of the scene, you're welcome to. Welcome to draw a picture of the scene. With of course, the positioning of this gentleman strategically placed such that specific things might be appropriately blocked off.
The crowbar or something.
The crowbar. Strategically placed crowbar.
Poor Cedric.
You start to feel movement, like turbulent movement, and when you get up from the box, you look around and you seem to be in some sort of cargo area, and based on the movement and the sounds from outside, you can hear like the sounds of like rumbling waves. You're on some sort of boat. You're in the cargo of some sort of ship for some reason.
I'll
And-
look.
Huh.
I'll look
And
at
with that,
her.
we're gonna move to somebody else.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Cliffhanger. Curiouser and Kenna, it is the beginning of 932. And the blight has been in full force for over a year now, just a little bit over a year. Fortunately for you, you and your tribe are in the highest peak of the Frostback Mountains, so that whatever darkspawn threat there is, they don't necessarily come in as heavy droves as they've done before. But they definitely have seemed to have taken over much of the land, and many of the neighboring tribes. And your family has been, and your group has been doing all that they can to fight off some of the scraggling darkspawn that do end up making their way up to your mountain. It's cold, bitter cold. Resources are running low because there is very little. They sort of have you holed up into a corner, painted you into a corner. There isn't very much for you guys to be able to do but sit and wait and hope that this whole thing will blow over sooner than later. You are by the fire right now, and both, I guess, Eric is there with you right now, and he's sort of holding his hands up to the fire. Ari currently is not there at the moment, and he's rubbing his hands together. I think that would make him 15. Yes, it would be roughly late 14, early 15. You would be. No, are you 15 at the time? No, you're like 16 or going on 17. You're like 16 going on 17.
Kenna would, if she has a jacket, she would take it off and put it over her brother, like sort of share it as they sit by the fire.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, sister, he says.
Of course. How are you doing?
I'm all right. I'm okay. I made a reading this morning, and he does a reading every morning just to see if today is the day when the blight will finally turn. Unfortunately, I think that we're going to have to make it through another day again.
We'll be fine. We'll be okay.
Yeah, of course you will. Of course you will. It's just, Mother doesn't say anything, but I know she's worried.
She's got a lot on her mind.
Yeah, I know. We're, compared to what the rest of the people down there, I think we're doing pretty good. I just hope that whatever's supposed to happen will just happen quick.
As long as
In
we
a good
stick
way.
together. Of course. As long as we stick together, we'll be alright, okay?
You hear a cry call out, "Mother! Mother!" And it is Ari's voice. He's running towards the tent where your mother is currently staying at. She emerges and says, "What is it, my child?" He says, "Mother, it's Rovas's tribe. They're being attacked. Mother, we have to go and help them. If we don't, they're gonna come here next, and we won't be able to keep the darkspawn back." It's as I feared. All right. I'll inform the rest of our warriors. She picks up her staff, and she begins to gather the crowds. And she says, "My people, here is a day that we all knew was coming. The day for our last stand. We've done very well for ourselves, protecting each other and our clan here. But it looks like the Darkspawn have plans to take that away from us. Our neighboring tribe is currently being attacked, and they will be overwhelmed without help. If they fall, there will be none to help us when the Darkspawn reach our camp here. Which is why if we're going to fight, we must fight now, side by side. For if they fall, so will we. All of the guardsmen, or all of the fighters have already put on their war paint, or are finishing up putting on their war paint and getting ready to fight, both men, women, and the children. And she will say, Kenna will lead the group to go towards the southeast. I will go to the other direction. Hopefully, maybe we might be able to attack from both sides. Pincer formation. That might be our best hope. I am not going to lie to you, she says. Many of us will probably not see the next day. But know that you will continue to live on within each one of us. The time for the Avar will not end tonight. We will survive and we will press on. Are you with me? She asks, and everyone starts to cheer, not out of fear, but out of utter determination and furor, like ready to engage this threat. She then turns towards Kenna and she says softly, "My daughter, are you ready? You know this day would come."
I'm ready, Mother. I can do this.
Watch over your brothers. They will be with you as well.
I'll protect them. They'll be fine. You watch over yourself.
Of course. The fight rage on. When you arrive at the camp, you find that the Darkspawn have taken over almost half, possibly even more than half of the lands of the neighboring tribe. Using the formation that the Thane had suggested, you are able to push back a good chunk of the Darkspawn. The unfortunate thing is, that was only the first of many waves, and they continue to pour in more and more. Several of the people around you fall, many of whom you have known, well, all of whom you've known since you were very young. During the mix, Ari gets separated. You lose sight of him. Eric is frantically looking around, casting spell after spell, desperately searching for his brother. He turns to you, Kenna, and says, I'll find him, don't worry. And he, unless you have a chance to say anything, he's gonna run off.
No, I'm gonna tell him to stay by my side. Don't you dare. We can find him together.
But he says, but it might be too late if I don't get to him. Please.
Don't leave.
Sister, please, he's my brother. You have to trust me. I have to go to him. I know I can find him. Please.
We can find him together. He's my brother too. Don't go off into the dark.
Okay. He will fight beside you and try to attack Darkspawn after Darkspawn. The entire battle is long, arduous, and tiring. The whole thing probably lasted for about at least an hour, maybe 2. Constant fighting. You ache. Many people continues to fall around you as more of the taint fills up the mountains. You're still trying desperately to search for Ari, but you can't find him. Unfortunately, the massive Darkspawn becomes too overwhelming that you turn around and you see that Eric has become separated from you in the mob. You go searching for him, searching around, firing your bow, taking down as many darkspawn as you can, until finally you reach the actual uppermost peak, where the last of the Avarian tribe are fighting alongside with your mother. She is attacking the darkspawn with blow after blow with her staff, in addition to the hold beast. When you catch up to them, you realize that there's no going back after this. Your mother looks at you, and as the rest of her bodyguards are keeping them at bay, she rushes towards you and she immediately takes her staff and she shoves it into your hands. Take this and the hold beast. You must survive.
What are you talking about? I'm not going.
She says, if you don't go, our people will be lost. You have to live for us, for them.
I can't leave you here. I can't leave my people.
You're not leaving us, child. You never will leave us, child. And we will never leave you. But you, this is your destiny. This is what I've been training you to be. It cannot end here. You cannot let our people end here. Please, Kenna, you must understand. Go. Escape. Run and hide. And when everything has died down, I know you will find a way to rebuild our people again.
I can't do this, Mom. I can't leave you here. The lady can take us both. We'll be fine. Don't do this.
Child, she says, as she takes her hand and she puts it onto her cheek. And as she's about to say something, a dark razor blade strikes right through her chest. And a big squirt of her blood splurts out onto your cheek. And she still has her hand cupped to your cheek as she very slowly falls backwards as her hand grazes past your cheek. As another one of the guardsmen strikes down the darkspawn. Again, they are continuing to fight, but you realize that if you don't leave now with the hold beast, then you all will perish.
She's gonna scream out and she's gonna clutch her mother and she's gonna... She realizes that there's the heat of battle going around. And she's gonna say, okay, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna take the hold. And it's not going to end here. I'm gonna come back and she's gonna lay her mom's head back down on the ground and she's gonna go back to her hold beast.
The hold beast roars as if challenging the darkspawn. The darkspawn growl at him back, but the hold beast goes on a rampage trying to clear a path for you. He basically is ramming darkspawn after darkspawn. Some of the darkspawn do manage to land a few bows and arrows, and there are a few that's already protruding from his fur. But the hold beast is determined to see through this with you for another day.
She's gonna grab her arrow and shoot off the darkspawn, and then right before she leaves, she's gonna turn back to her mom and she's gonna quickly reach for her mom's staff. And then she's gonna take it with her, and she's gonna grab onto Esbjorn, and she's gonna, let's go. We have to go. And she's gonna run and let him guide her out.
You will run as the sounds of battle continues to ring in your ears. Everything around you is like in slow motion. Everything around you is dead silent, yet ringing loudly in your ears at the same time. You manage to find a cave that you are able to duck into, and that is where you will end up spending the night, as you can continue hearing the growl and the snarl and the sound of clanging metal and the twisting of bone and sinew horrific sounds that probably does nothing to help you fall asleep that night.
She's gonna be sticking really close to Esbjorn and just holding the staff, and she's not gonna sleep, but she's gonna sit there and she's gonna ask for forgiveness for leaving, and she's just gonna rock back and forth.
Esbjorn will dip his head down towards the ground again, and he gives a very crying sounding sadly, as he's sort of lamenting, sort of that he's also mourning what happened to your tribe as well.
She's just gonna pet his fur, and we're gonna be alright. We're gonna be okay.
The bear walks over towards you, nuzzles his head against you, against your body. You can feel the warmth of his fur, and know that you both will keep each other safe through the night, for as long as it takes. Theoben, you're next.
No! What are you gonna do to me?
Aww.
That was so hard.
Oh, baby.
Theoben, it is now present time, 9:37. You've been living in Orzammar for quite some time, and there's been a number of changes. A good majority of the surviving dwarves were traditionalists. When Branka started recruiting people to become golems, majority of the initial volunteers were casteless, being promised an opportunity to place themselves back into the memories for their service. Other casteless were voluntold, since many of the noble dwarves preferred to bide their time before committing themselves to the forge. This places Kine in a bit of a dilemma, since he's definitely a more left-winged kind of person. There is pressure from the traditionalist dwarves to preserve what little of dwarven society they have left. Plus, even though Kine may have enjoyed great favor from the dwarves earlier on after the rebellion, after 5 years when things get comfortable again, people tend to forget and start complaining about their leaders. That being said, there have been several changes. The caste system is still in place, as that is a major part of dwarven culture. However, the casteless are given their citizenship back and are considered to be people again. One of the major agendas during Kine's reign is for the dwarves to repopulate themselves after losing so many of their numbers to the Anvil of the Void. Therefore, Kine can easily argue the need to bring the casteless back into the fold. The pairing of different castes is a lot more lenient now due to the shift in the priority of, let's be honest here, making babies. Kine has been trying to give them back their rights gradually, but it will still take some time before the casteless are at an equal footing with the rest. Still, they are enjoying way more rights than they did before under his rule. This puts a lot of pressure on the casteless to marry their way into a formal caste. The second major part of Kine's agenda is the dwarven economy. Since Branka squandered much of their riches towards making golems, they need to do what they can to fill their coffers up again in order to survive. So anything that encourages trade and commerce is top priority. Swarfist dwarves no longer become casteless, especially considering how Kine himself spent much time on the surface. So once you go on the surface, you're not considered casteless, because they're trying to keep the Orzammar population up. Kine even decreed that any surface dwarf was welcome to return back to Orzammar and regain their original citizenship. This was very unpopular with the traditionalists, as you can imagine, but again, Kine argued, 1, bringing back more dwarves from the surface means bolstering their numbers and allows for more babies, and 2, Allowing dwarves to go to the surface and back means that they can establish trade and commerce, which they desperately need right now. So any surface dwarf who is completely new to Orzammar, i.e. has had no familial ties to a specific caste, will become a casteless dwarf, but any contributions they can provide to Orzammar based on their personal connections with the surface can earn them a chance into a formal caste. One easy example is a merchant surface dwarf earning his way into the merchant caste. No surprise there. This would also include any of its family members that they bring with them. This becomes a very sore point for the non-surface casteless because it is much harder for them to earn their way into a proper caste due to their lack of anything pre-established from the surface life. So it's very one-sided in that way. Now internally, Kyne is very sympathetic towards the casteless. Sometimes he helps members of the casteless in secret, but he has to be very careful with this as there can easily be traditionalists who would love a chance to stab him in his heart in his sleep. Depending on the severity of their previous crimes, if you remember, depending on the severity of their previous crimes, because if you remember, Kyne himself was an assassin and dabbled in a few criminal activities himself back in the day, Kyne may provide the casteless criminals with amnesty on a case-by-case basis. Those who abuse this amnesty will be exiled into the deep roads instead of being exiled to Dust Town, since it's now a citizen district. Now, Theoben, you have your own personal shop, I'm assuming. You're still a merchant of some vein. And do you see yourself like in your own building? Are you on a cart somewhere? Are you in a bazaar kind of deal, like out in open in the Diamond District? Like what?
Yeah, I wrote that he would initially work out of Orzammar Commons, but that Kyne would then have granted him, thanks to his help with the residents, up in the Diamond Quarter.
Yes.
So he'd have his own little shop around the Diamond Quarter.
A gentleman will approach you. A human gentleman. You haven't really seen... You've started to see a few more humans here and there enter. They're not as scarce just because, again, you need to establish trade, commerce, and quite often there will be humans and other races coming in to try to trade with King Kyne. But a human approaches your shop, and you are selling potions. I'm assuming the poisons is not something, it's like under the table. It's like another table thing.
That's not something he advertises.
Right.
It was herbal extracts, potions, and that sort of thing outwardly. Be mixtures, potions, tonics, that sort of thing.
An individual picks it up and looks at the bottle and says, very interesting looking brew. Is this, he asks you, is this your healing potion?
It's one of them, yes.
Ah. He looks at it, gives it a tiny bit of a swirl. Interesting, just the perfect amounts of sediments. Very well blended solution. You definitely have an eye for brewing, I see.
Many thanks. I don't know your name?
He says, he puts down and he gives you a grin. The gentleman who seeks you is very extravagantly dressed with amazing hair and a scar down his eye. He's missing an eye.
Okay.
Kane, he says. Kane is my name. And you are Theoben Solny. Is that how you pronounce that?
That is right, my friend. You've heard of me?
Have I heard of you? Yes. Yes, I have. And considering the quality of your wares, you are just the person I need to speak with. Do you mind, he looks around and leans towards you, if we had a little bit of a private chat?
Why not? There's no other customers around anyway. He takes a quick look around, and he indicates towards a back room just behind where he was stood.
I can definitely make it worth your while, he says. He will follow you into the back room.
And he's all politeness. He lets King go first.
Why, thank you. And he ducks down as he goes in. Very Gandalf-like. Gandalf. Now, the nice thing about dwarves is they do tend to make their structures, like, they do have high ceilings, regardless.
Yeah.
So he ducks down at least to get through the doorway a little bit, but then when he enters into the room, he comes in and says, "So, Theobin Solny, should I call you Theo, Theobin, or Mr. Solny?"
He shuts the door behind them and says, "Call me Theo. What can I do for you?"
Theo. Theo it is. Very well. I have a very special request to make. Something that I believe requires your skill set. Something that may not necessarily be in your usual catalog of items for sale, if you catch my drift. I heard that you're very good at these kind of things, you see. And I'm looking for one of the best of your skill set.
Theo folds his arms quite businesslike. He says, "What kind of skills are we talking about? There's only us two here."
He says, I'm looking for a solution. Not of healing properties, quite the opposite, if you catch my drift.
"You need someone dead," he says very bluntly.
I need someone incapacitated. Perhaps dead if required. It really depends on whether or not my client feels it necessary. But at any rate, for your personal protection, I won't go over any of the details. Just know that I am prepared to pay you handsomely for this, if you are willing to. Should I show you my proposal?
He raises an interested eyebrow and says, "Yes, I think I can make time for a man of your caliber and money. Yeah, show me the proposal."
He pulls out a scroll and he says, "Are you familiar with this particular recipe?" He holds it in front of you and you take the parchment. Roll a poison knowledge. I think there's like a poison knowledge roll or something along those lines.
Poison lord.
Poison lore, yes, that's exactly what I want you to roll.
My reference.
16. Okay.
Yep.
This is a recipe for an extremely high level poison, master level poison, called Quiet Death. I believe this was first shown in Dragon Age Origins in the game. Quiet Death is one of the most powerful poisons that you can make, that can instantly kill people. Even mere drops of it could knock them out for minutes, hours, or even a day or two.
Okay, so he studies the recipe and he's examining it. He's, quiet death. Yes, that's not your average poison. This person must be very crucial to you.
Indeed, he says, very crucial indeed. I have gone through the trouble of collecting the necessary ingredients, and he opens up a satchel which is filled with philandris. Philandris is a rare herb that is used for poisons like this. But I need someone skilled enough to assist me with the poison. I actually am a bit of a brewer by trade as well, a potions master, but I have to say that poisons in and of itself is not in my specialty. I was thinking that perhaps if you and I together were to work on this, we might be able to be successful. Now, technically speaking, out of character, Hannah, you're not capable of creating master level poisons yet, which is why through Kane, because he is a master level potion master, and your knowledge of poison, the two of you combined should be able to together make this poison safely.
Okay. All right. In character. Kane, is it? And
Yes.
he doesn't let Kane finish. He immediately shoots out his hand and says, "We have a deal."
Excellent. He holds out his hand and gives it a shake. Now, I want you to roll me a poison crafting skill, just to see how well you do at assisting. Oh, very nice. And it's a stunt. Very nice. Okay.
Okay.
So between you and your efforts, you will be able to successfully make this this very powerful poison, probably the most powerful poison that you personally have brewed, even though you had some help. And you probably are very excited about this.
Yeah.
And while you guys are brewing, and you notice that Kane, he knows this stuff too. Like, he's very skilled, and he handles the instruments masterfully. Definitely knows his way around the alchemist laboratory.
Yep.
He's very polite, though. He lets you have your space. He asks permission before he uses something. The man is very charming. Very, very charming. And, you might have some small talk here and there. And Kane will probably ask, "So tell me, Theo, what exactly got you into this hobby?" Just out of curiosity.
Are we talking general herbalism or poison specifically?
We'll say poison specifically.
Well, that happened whilst I was collecting supplies. I was venturing into the deep roads as a teenager. You do that, You have to go see a dark spawn at some point in your life. Growing up in Orzammar, and I stuck to the shallow areas where there weren't that many of them. Took my bow. I picked up some herbalism supplies, and through my studies found that quite a lot of the stuff that we find in the deep roads actually had some root in poison making. Deep mushroom, for example, did you know carries the taint?
I believe I've heard of that, yes. But I'm sure you probably know way more than I do.
Yes. There are many qualities that we find out in the deep roads that lend itself very well to poison making, and so I experimented. And here I am now, say, 20 years later.
I can imagine that you probably have a lot of very well-playing clientele. Perhaps the Carta?
Well, you'll find my body if I say anything about that, so we're going to have to leave that. Right?
Yes, I see. I see, of course.
The Carta may not be what they once were before everything, but they're still around, and they'd still have my head if I divulged any of that information.
Of course. We never had this conversation, I understand. Trust me.
Yep.
I've been in this business for quite some time. I understand fully.
Indeed, you seem to be a man of refined interest in this yourself.
Well, yes, of course. One does manage to somehow enjoy the finer things in life, despite the setbacks that the world can have at times.
So I might ask the same of you. Where does this interest come from?
Poisons or just potions in general?
Whatever your specialty. I understand it's more on the potion front. Am I correct?
Potions has been my main hobby. I've always been enlightened by the ability to provide magic to those who normally can't wield it. If you think about it, that's what potions are. Gives people the ability to cast spells, quote-unquote, to create different effects. Sort of like how they say that the grenades are also another way for the non-magical to use spells. That must be why the dwarves themselves have become so good at it. If they can't cast magic themselves, they find another way. Nature always does.
Absolutely. Our nature has required us to be more inventive
Resourceful, yes. I've always had very great respect for the dwarves in that front. You've been extremely ingenious, very, well, revolutionary. I used to know a dwarf that was particularly clever and ingenious about those kind of things.
Maybe I know him.
He says, you can't hardly miss him. He's a dwarf, half dwarf, half elf. Ring the bell, flies around in a flying... Oh, well, not that you would know, of course. His name is Cogs.
By the stone. No, Cogs.
Oh, so you have heard of him. I wasn't sure.
I wasn't sure.
You never know with the people of Orzammar. No offense, of course.
I wasn't sure the little blighter was still alive. How is he?
As far as I know, he's still doing pretty well. Still, I think the last I heard he was in Orlais. Not really sure why, though.
Well, my best to her. He was, my buddy Janar, his daughter knew him.
Oh, I see. Well, what a small world we live in.
Indeed. Shall we proceed?
We shall. And you will continue on with the potion. Halasair.
Hello.
Halasair, the time is 9:32. Yes,
Okay.
9:32. You and your buddy Sevion Hannick.
Mm-hmm.
You and your buddy Sevion Hannick are currently in Kirkwall.
Okay.
There's a lot of buzz that's been going on in Kirkwall lately. You see, there is rumor that says that the heroes of Thedas, the heroes of Ferelden, have come up with a way to completely end the Blight and destroy the Archdemon.
Mm-hmm.
And because of this, in celebration, the champion of Kirkwall, Cain himself, has thrown a grand ball to celebrate the evening, celebrate the festivities. There's posters all over the place, banners, and Sevion has had great connections to allow both of you a opportunity to partake in this banquet.
Huh.
Sevion is dressed in some very fine clothing, a deep green outfit, suit, complete with a green hat with a small yellow feather on top.
Okay.
And
sure.
you are going to be there as his date.
Of course.
He says, "Come on, Hallie, don't be late. We can't be late now." You emerge in what sort of an outfit?
He would have had to be some sort of fashion consultant because she's been having all of her years on the road. She's never done well with skirts, so he's probably had to take her on the shopping trip for the girl who's never really been the dressy before. Just like no, why don't we try something a little more refined, maybe in a different color. So she has probably argued her way into some sort of regal looking like pant outfit.
Okay.
She just doesn't do dresses. They might have done some sort of embellishment at the neck to like draw the eye upward, but she's bald.
Yes. My dear, you look absolutely ravishing, he says, as he takes a hold of your hand and he leans over and gives it a kiss.
So ravish me.
Well then, we should wait for the, we should wait for the, at least the end. I'd like to at least have something to eat first. You might tire me out, my dear.
It is a promise.
Shall we? He says as he holds his elbow up to you.
She'll take it.
You take the elbow and you go in, and the grand ballroom has been highly decorated. There's food everywhere, dancing, and this is not the... Considering how the blight has been going on for the last couple of years, this is a total change. I mean, Kane,
Yeah.
he's doing it up pretty well here, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
And while you guys are, probably taking some of the dishes, Sevion kind of leans towards you and says, "Don't look now, Helisaire, but I think that is one of the heroes in that direction. That, or at least one of their companions. That's a werewolf, isn't it? I know I've heard rumors about them, but I didn't think that it was necessarily true."
And she's not shy about it. She's just like looking like, oh.
He says, "Well, I guess from our line of work, we've seen odder things."
Is he really there? What is he doing currently?
Right now, the werewolf seems to be dancing with another man who is with scars on his face.
Sure.
It's like dancing. Maximilian and... Right now, Maximilian
I
and...
love that scene.
Yeah, that scene is
Yeah.
great. Maximilian and Plim are dancing together.
It's
Well, he says, "You better watch out, Helisaire. He might steal me away from you if you're not careful." She's
Oh,
watching the two dance.
one never knows. I've heard many people say that all men are dogs.
Mm. So the way I sort of see Sevion is, have you ever, if you've seen Shrek 2,
Sure.
the Prince Charming in Shrek 2 is how I see
Oh
Sevion.
dear.
you know the kind where after battle he removes his helmet and he just shakes his hair.
Yeah.
After battle, just
Yes, some soft
Yes.
and bouncy hair.
soft and bouncy.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. More.
That's okay. You know, he's the soft that I'm not, so this is good.
Yes.